All right, there we go. And so we're going to set things up here for you to welcome you here to our another WTA Learn. It's 10:31, and I would ask you if you guys want a trick or a treat. I'm just going to take for granted that you want to give a treat, and that treat's going to be training. So there's no tricks here. Or we could say, hey, the trick is we're going to give you all those who you touch, their employees, a benefit that costs nothing and yet pays them money. That could be a trick, if we wanted to really be able to say so. This on there to see how it actually can work. But nonetheless, no tricks, no treats, but but training. So we'll go with that on that side. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So for our training, as I said before, we want to kind of go through some understanding of that platinum, that precious item that you have in your hands that's changing folks' lives in so many different ways. W.T.A. How to be able to wield that weapon properly. And so that's what we want to make sure that we can go ahead and cover. Probably not in its entirety, but at least be able to graze upon it. So graze upon the top of it. So our goal, our aim, our mission, our campaign, our co-mission even, the focus that we have with Wealth Transfer Alliance is to get people off of probate and to bring wellness back into the workplace. That's what we're striving to be able to do, and everything that we do around that supports that on that side. So how do we do that? Well, we do that with our estate planning technology that we have. That estate planning technology, I'm telling you, it gets oohs and ahs all day long when I'm talking to people about it. And how do I talk to people about it? I was talking to an author who has written books about estate planning today, and she asked that very question. Here's how I answered that question. I said to her, I'm just going to call her Jane Doe for the sake of this call. Ms. Doe, let me ask you, when is the last time that you had your estate plan reviewed? And when I answered that, it was kind of interesting to wait, because here's a person that wrote books and did all this stuff about all that stuff, right? And she said, do you want me to give you a real answer or a stereotypical answer? That's like your choice. Tell me what you want to be able to do there, right? Because obviously, if you're doing this in real life, someone's going to give you a real answer. They can give you all kinds of answers, but what a great position and power you have if you have any knowledge or understanding what W.T.A. brings to the table. Oh man, you're locked and loaded, as someone said at our game training that we had the other day. But you're ready, man. Your sword is sharp. Everything is there. Your quiver is full of bows. Whatever's the proper way to be able to state that, you're ready to go. If you ask that question properly, such and such, Jane Doe, Mrs. Doe, when is the last time that you got your estate plan reviewed? You can ask that question freely, because it doesn't matter what answer they give you. They could say, I'm getting it reviewed tomorrow. I got a review 2 years ago. I'm getting it reviewed next month or a year ago. They can answer the questionnaire. So there's a couple of things that I want you to note. If someone acknowledges that they've had it reviewed or they're getting ready to get it reviewed, do not fret. A couple of things that you want to feel positive about when they say that. Number one, they believe in estate planning. Number two, so much so that they have something, they don't know what yet, but they have something prepared. Number three, that the fact that they're having in mind to have it reviewed, they have a sense of wanting to be on top of it. Those are all positive things, incredibly positive things. So let's go with that. I'm having it reviewed just got it reviewed or whatever. Like, oh, that's great, Mrs. Doe. What I find is most people, that have an estate plan typically don't have a complete and comprehensive estate plan. What would you say a complete and comprehensive estate plan consists of? Boom, say nothing. Because they're already getting a review. So they're going to tell you what they have, what they don't have, right? If you feel that's too direct, or if you feel that's too, uh, deep for where you are to answer whatever comes up next, you can come back and say this. You have two other options. So there's three options. First option, because they're getting it reviewed or had it reviewed or had it reviewed a couple of years ago, whatever it is. So they are acknowledging or alluding to the fact that they have an estate plan. Number one, I'm just giving you options. What I found is that most people don't have a complete and comprehensive estate plan. What would you say a complete and comprehensive estate plan consists of? That's one. Here's another way you could say it. Totally different, but listen to it. Wow, that's great. Most people have a will. Do you have a will? Their answer in place. They may expand one way or the other, but you always want to have some dialogue if you're talking to people, whether it be over the phone, in person, however it's set up there, right? Most people have, I'm sorry, the word is most people only have a will in place. Do you only have a will in place? That's the question that you want to be able to ask them. All right. Now, here's the third one. Depending upon your level of comfort, because everything can spread out in different ways, right? The third one. That's fantastic that you're getting it checked and having it reviewed and being on top of your estate plan. Because most people don't have their estate plan funded. How did you fund your estate plan? You'll find that most people don't even understand what that means. I'm telling you the truth. I'm talking to so many people that are deep into finances and even estate planning, and sometimes I don't come that direct. I may talk about funding and I'll say funding again and I'll say funding again. And then they say, when you say funding, what do you mean? They'll start to explain and it'll start to come out of their own mouth that they don't know what funding is. And here's the reason why. I'm gonna work my way backwards on that last one. The reason why is that most attorneys aren't the ones that's going to fund your estate plan. And if so, you're going to pay a whole bunch of extra fees. But most of the time when you sign those documents, when you get it done, it releases the attorney from having anything to do with funding. Second, it's confusing to the person who has this estate plan, we'll call it, in place, because they have listed these things, that these are the things that they want to be able to be distributed by their trust. And so in most people's minds, I just gave the trust control of distributing it because I listed it, I notarized it, it was witnessed. Voila, it's done. They're thinking it's done. Most rocket lawyers or net law or wills and trust or what's the other thing? Even when you go through Legal Shield and spend $3,500 to get something similar to what we have without funding, there all those different things. they don't actually give them the understanding that these things need to be not just listed, they need to be under the control of that estate plan. They have no idea. And sometimes they have no idea even how to be able to accomplish it. So our system is a do it for you type of system where it's all set into place. So that in and of itself is a value that you don't want to just give it out. You can't just give it out there because people are funny. People are, oh yeah, I have that. They'll just say, yeah. Anything that seems, I must have that because I paid enough money and my stuff is in there, and they'll just agree that they have it. So you can't just give it out there. All right. So you talk about that aspect of it, then most people don't even have it funding. You have it funded. And how did you fund yours? I put it in there. Okay. You listed it in there? Because that's what that typically means. They don't know. That's just how it typically works. Or like, yeah, that was all taken care of by my attorney. Now there's something that you have to do. Your attorney can't do it without you. 100% cannot do it without you. All right. So there's a loss there. So you got to understand that most people don't know, guys. They just do not understand enough. All right. That's the funding side of it. Most people only have a will. You may not be a financial person or have any experience in that, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to tell you this, and some of you guys will know and agree, some of you guys may not. But there was a time where, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was all about getting a will. You got your will, they're giving away a free will if you go here. Will, got to get a will, got to go. Will's where it was at. If you had a will, you were good. You don't have a will? Oh, man, come on, get a will. That was what it was all about. But we know a will, as our professor says every Wednesday and Saturday, a will go through probate. That's exactly what will happen. Of that, you can be sure of. Now, lighten the load, because there are some probate processes that can be very simple. That's not all of them. A lot of them can be very time consuming and cost. They're all going to have a cost, by the way, but just to have all that in place to know. So if they just have a will, let them know, you're still going to go through probate. There's the possibilities of that. That's there. Okay. So that's addressing the will part. The beginning part, a complete and comprehensive estate plan, right? What consists of it? What consists what is the contents of a complete and comprehensive estate plan is what's in our technology platform that we have in the simplest form. Will, revocable trust that can be able to adjust and meet for any and every needs. Power of attorney for healthcare, medical directive that you have on there, i.e. the living will. You want to be able to have the power of attorney for finance that's in place. A pour over will. And when we had our little test on our W.T.A feud the other day, a lot of people say, pour over will, what is that? Pour over will is when there are things that are left out of your trust. When you die, your irrevocable trust becomes irrevocable. Before it becomes irrevocable, what they're doing is they're taking anything that was out of that, that was not listed in it, is you use the pour over will to pour it over into it, that irrevocable trust. However, do understand that whatever's in a pour over will can also go through probate. But a pour over will is to mop up everything else and to pour it over into the deal there. I'm doing it like it's a physical thing, but you guys understand what I'm saying on that. Most people have a complete comprehensive estate plan, still has that, but the reason why most people have to have that power of will in place there is because, get this, this is a big deal. If you don't get anything, get this. Our estate planning technology is very unique because it's accessible. It's at your fingertips. You log in and you could be able to get it on a device, you know, and you could be able, I just made that purchase of that home. Let me go into my complete and comprehensive estate plan, go into deed works, and see if I could be able to put that new property into my complete and comprehensive estate plan. That's easy. Rather than, I just put that, I got to arrange another time to be able to get back with my attorney to do this, that, and so forth. Or I have to go down to the land ordinance to be able to do this after that thing settles to make sure that I have that in my complete and comprehensive estate plan. I got to take off work or take off appointments or whatever it is to make sure I get down there and have all my paperwork, make sure I get all that stuff done. Deed works, bang, and they wrap it right back up until you receive your stuff in the mail, and put it back in. That is convenient, ladies and gentlemen. That convenience is big. All right. I don't know all the particular details, but I'm going to use an example. The fact of what, well, I won't use an exact example, so I give a concept. That is why some of the rich and famous folks who do have a lot of things in place ends up having some things out of place. And that's because it's not convenient to make adjustments to their plan. They got to meet with their attorneys, their agents, or their foundation members, or their trustees, and all this to be able to get this new thing that they purchased into their trust, foundation, or whatever it is. And if they don't, then it'd be stuck in a power of will, which is contestable. And so now they die. It was never transferred over because they didn't have time to get all the parties together. And so now that thing is contestable, and their estate is fighting other family members or whoever for that document because it wasn't convenient to be able to do. So it's just important to be able to understand the power of what we have to get people off of probate and to keep them off of probate. This there. So what we say is use your unlimited adjustments and updates and reassignments and all that stuff as quickly as possible so that you don't have to use your power over will that is within your complete and comprehensive estate plan. Hopefully I kind of gave a good understanding of how that actually comes into play and works there for you guys. So that everybody is in the know there. All right. So that's important to be able to know and to be able to have because there's power in this technology that we have in place. And so these type of small talk dynamics are marketing triggers that hopefully you guys are able to grab and to be able to use as conversation pieces in talking to people about what it is that we do on the top of getting people off of probate, as our mission, our campaign, our goal, our aim, as our crusade, as it were, our commission that we want to be able to do is to get folks off of probate. Because isn't your life worth a legacy? Yes, it is worth a legacy. And you want to make sure that you can be able to protect that legacy. Okay, so that's that side of it to ask that one question. I sprung all that around. When's the last time that you had your estate plan reviewed? Great opening question for individuals. And you can turn that around when anyone says, hey, what do you do? I can sum up what I do kind of in one sentence. What we do is this. It's our mission, our aim, our goal to be able to get people off of probate and bring wellness back into the workplace. Let me narrow this down to you so you can understand more specifically what I do. When's the last time you had your estate plan review? Bang, squeeze that mess right on it. That brings open the conversation. Now, you have the other, before I go on, because I knew that was chock full, or maybe it wasn't, but you have the ability to unmute or raise your hand if anybody has any comments, questions, or even objections. I love objections. All right, because it's to be able to do that, repeat that one liner again. All right. Don't know which one wrong liner, but I think I know. So let me give it a shot and make sure that's the one liner that you were looking for. Someone asked me, hey, what is it that you do? It's my mission, my goal, my aim, my commission, my campaign is to get people off of probate and to bring wellness back into the workplace. Let me bring this more specific to you. When's the last time that you had your estate plan reviewed? I think that was the one line, even though it's a number of lines. It's a long one liner that goes across, but maybe that helps. I don't know. On that repeat side, if I didn't hit it, okay, that was good. Great, thank you. All right, yes, Lynette Grant.
Um, well, what if the person says, well, I don't have an estate plan. Well, what is that?
Excellent. So let's do it. Since you raised your hand, can I do that with you?
Sure. Well, what is the estate plan? I haven't never heard of that.
Well, it's interesting. I'm glad that you have mentioned that in that way, but maybe you don't realize it or not, but everybody has an estate plan. Did you know that?
No,
You did?
no.
So most people who don't know, they have the government's plan. And the government's plan is probate. So let me just ask you real quick, Lynette, with you being on the government's plan of probate, let me just ask you something. You're married, right? I see you got that big ring on your finger.
Yeah, I am.
Well, that's wonderful. And you guys have any children?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you have any grandchildren, nieces, nephews, aunts, their cousins or anything of that nature, other family members, loved ones?
Yes, we do.
Awesome. See, I told you it was my mission, my goal, my aim, my commission, right? To get people off of probate. And when you stated to me that you didn't know what a estate plan was, I wanted to make sure that you were educated to know that you're on a governance plan. And it's really my job to see if I can help you get off of that governance plan, because that government plan is going to cost your loved ones money and time. And do you understand what I mean by that? That means that everything that you're the decision maker for, that you own, that you're in control of, is at the mercy of someone else. Even your own healthcare decisions, Mrs. Grant, your own healthcare decisions are at the mercy of someone else, because an estate plan also has what we call living benefits.
Hmm.
What we want to make sure is that anything happens to you, your healthcare decisions are going to agree with what your desires are, not someone in a hospital. I mean, I know they are looking out for the best of their, they've got the Hippocratic oath. I may have said that wrong, Brian, but they have, they have, their oaths and their education, everything that's there. But you may have something that you want to be done or to be taken care of, but your wishes will not be granted necessarily, because you're on the government's plan, and they're going to give you what they feel is going to be best suited for their ability to give you care, or their ability to care for you. Things that you want to pass on to your loved ones in the event that you do pass is going to have to be approved by attorneys in most cases and delayed. I've talked to so many people who have gone through that. And just because very intelligent people, they just didn't know. No one told them. And so I want to make sure that you understand this, and you can pass this on to others as well, like your husband and and perhaps your children and other people that you touch, that you have learned something through this process of ensuring that you're in control of your own legacy. Then I try to make it light after that. I said, Lynette, what do you do for a living?
Um, where we're retired.
Oh, what did you retire from?
I was a telecommunications specialist at the
Okay,
phone. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Telecommunications specialist, man, what an industry. That industry has grown and changed by leaps and bounds. I'm sure you've seen a lot of development in technology in that industry, huh?
yes, yes, I have.
Well, technology today is phenomenal in such a way that we're able to take advantage of it with our estate planning technology that we have. See, I just wrapped that. I wouldn't even plan. It's right in place here now. And you being someone who was involved with technology, I'm sure you can appreciate the convenience that technology brings.
Yeah.
And so what I like to be able to do is to talk to you more. Now, if I'm standing in, I don't know, supermarket with you, or if I'm on a phone call with you that was kind of real quick and ad hoc, or if I'm meeting you somewhere, cold and talking to you, I don't want to fire hose you with all of my wonders of knowledge and wisdom at that particular time. I just want to give you just enough, so I think I probably have at this point, where I
Uh-huh.
can collect your information to talk to you and your husband at another time
Okay.
where it be more controlled, perhaps a Zoom or whatever it is, where we could be able to sit down and I could show you how you can be able to be in a position. I always like to tell someone other stories. Like I'll tell them the story, like, this is me personally, but you could say something in general. Oh, guess what? Man, use my story. This here now. And here's the story I would say, here. And I tie this typically on Mrs. Grant, is your life worth a legacy? I would say, my great great grandfather, he's born a slave, and but he got his freedom, and he had property,
Mhm.
Archie Johnson, but we don't have that property anymore
Wow.
because they rezoned that property and changed things around in such a way where my family ended up selling it. And that was the house that my grandfather grew up in. It was the house that my mother grew up in, and it's no longer a part of our family anymore. And because we ended up losing it, there was ways in which we could have been able to keep it, but that's heritage. I remember that house. I spent many summers in it growing up, but it's no more. It's only in my mind now. It's nowhere else. But my children have never seen it and will never see it because it's gone. But there's a heritage that's there. It had a cherry tree in the front yard that my grandfather planted when he was 12 years old. I ate some of the cherry pie that my grandmother used to make from that tree. It's no longer there. But those are things that are near and dear that people want. I'm sure you have stories like that, perhaps in your family, of things that are no longer to be. That's heritage that's lost, that's legacy that's lost. And our goal is to make sure that we can make sure that there can be a difference in there and an opportunity for change that's there. But let me collect your number and stuff. I want to get back to you and with your husband so we can talk a little bit more about this because this is important stuff. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree. Wow, this is very important. So that's the government has us kind of like almost kind of allowing our people to get land and types of things like that stolen from us because we don't know. It's like our people perish by the lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And so this is just conversational, and I love to be able to do that on the fly with you on that stuff that we're doing right now, Lynette, to be able to do it. But if people don't know, I want them to know. It's kind of like you want them to have the pain. You want them to have the pain to know that they're on the government's plan. You want
Mm.
them to have the pain to know that they need to make a difference, and not making a difference can lead to other pains that's there, other loss, and things of that nature. And they got to know, they must know. I want them to be in a position where there's things that I want to be able to show them so they can know what they can do to make a difference for themselves and for others. Very, very important, because I want, I want people to be able to spread the news. I want people to want to spread the news, to want to be a part of an agent for change.
Wow, thank you.
Is that helpful at all?
Yes, it is. Very helpful.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else have any other questions about those three things or comments or anything around there? This is recorded, so I'm gonna send this one right off as long as we don't get no crazy people on. Anybody else? All right, go ahead, Dr. Hurdell, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Question: what would you say if a person asks, what software do we use?
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's great. So a couple of things. One, at the behest of Professor, I've moved a little bit from software to technology. But if they ask what technology, what software, whatever that we use, what I always tell them, I tell them that it's a proprietary software that you need a license seat to be able to have, or a subscription to be able to use. And obviously, you need to have the ability to tap into a license to be able to market. It was put together by attorneys, Harvard attorneys, Ivy League attorneys, and tech folk, so that individuals could be able to have it as a do-it-yourself software. Initially, it was set up for attorneys to do. I don't know, Dr. Herder, if you ever sat down with an attorney to do a estate plan, they're typing things into a software. I don't know, have you ever noticed that?
No.
That's what's happening. They're not drawing things up from scratch. They don't just have a blank document. They're typing things into a software. In fact, there are a number of different softwares out there. You can Google them and find there's a number of different softwares that are being sold to attorneys and tax folks, where they can start to put together different types of estate plans for it. But what was unique about what we're offering is that it is a intuitive logic tree programming AI technology that through an interview process with you just answering questions, fill in the blanks, or yes or no's, or choosing the drop down box options, is going to bring up all the complete and comprehensive data that's needed, attorney drafted documents approved in your state and jurisdiction for the need that you have set forth within your answers. That's how I go through their answer. That's how I answer that question.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Deputy Sheriff. You're still muted. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, Derek, I'm gonna tell you this right here is so spot on. I had a young lady on the call last week, and she thought she has a trust.
Yep.
But like you say, that's one of my questions is, has it been funded? And I know as soon as if they hesitate, that means it ain't been funded. That's right. A giveaway right out the gate.
It's a giveaway right out the gate. And so here's what I'm gonna say something real quick. What you guys understand, when you ask that question, how do I say this? People get a little defensive, and they immediately want to say yes. But then consciously, some of them don't even know.
Right.
And so they don't really know how to answer it. And so you have to, it's almost like you kind of got to skate and let them know it's not funded.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they have to come to their own realization,
mm-hmm.
That it's not funded. And so I always let them know, well, listen, if your properties weren't titled over to your trust, or your trust actually owns it, because understand the trust is only as powerful as what it owns or is beneficiary to. because it can't transfer it just because it's listed. It has to actually own it, to be able to transfer it over. And for it to be transferred over, they know, right? For example, if you have a life insurance, I know who my beneficiaries are. My attorney can't just like, okay, well, we're going to change your beneficiary to your trust, and I'll just do that with the life insurance. Life insurance company's looking for my signature, right? I got to fill out those other documents, and hopefully I got an attorney drafted document with that attorney to go over it with it and say it wants to come over to the trust. And I sent them over a certificate of trust. That just doesn't happen because you list your life insurance policy on it, and you put the what is it? You put the name of the policy and the policy number into the trust. It's not going to automatically happen. Your home, your car, all those things, you're involved in that, and so they know if it's funded because of their involvement. It's not just going to happen without it. And so when people ask me, when you say funded, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, they don't have it funded. I know right off the top. What was happening there. You know it right off the top. So
and Derek, to finish that up, after she watched the presentation the professor did that night, the next day she called. What she did was she was fighting cancer. So she put some things. They had someone at the bank do a trust. She said, yeah, she had some witnesses and blah, blah, blah. So after she listened to the call, she called the guy up the next day. Question was, can this be contested? He started backtracking, right? But she said he's told her, yes, it can be contested, right? She can make some adjustments, but it's going to cost her. So it's going to cost you at a minimum $200. So, okay. All right. And I said, well, did it go to the court or not? She said, no. He said, didn't go to the court. They drafted the documents up, and it's on, you have a witness and so forth and so on, and it's on file with the bank. I said, okay, well, it sounded suspect to me. Okay.
Right.
And then, now check this out. The other part of this is one of the judges I sit for, she dibbled and dabbled with estates for a little while. So I asked her, did she have her daughter trust? Said no. I'm like, Judge, what are you waiting on? Right? And then she told me about she dibbling and dabbling. I said, see now, and the thing of it is I know a lot of judges, they dibble and dabble with estate for the simple fact, far as getting it funded, they know people going to continue to come back to them, and they're going to nickel and dime them to death.
Mm-hmm.
And she started smiling. I said,
Yep.
And like you said, some of the judges don't even know what the procedure really is to have it funded. Right. So you are, I literally just
I'm amazed. You're right. I'm amazed at that. And it doesn't amaze me by the number of people and the quality of people and the educational background and the involvement of these people that they don't even know how to fund an estate plan. It's I didn't know. So let me just say it on the back. It's not like I knew. I had to learn it too. But I didn't realize how powerful it was to know that, because people don't know. They just absolutely don't know. So and I think, just so you guys know, Deputy Claude here, he's a deputy sheriff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And he does work in the
so I'm in all the, I'm not assigned to a particular courts, so I sit in all the courts. My primary court deals with civil matters and so forth, so I do sit in on the probate court from time to time. But I know all the clerks, and I know a lot of the judges. So part of the thing, as I'm educating myself, is me talking to these guys, and everyone is saying the price point we have is crazy.
Right.
And then, like I said, as I'm learning more and more, just like you did tonight, oh man, I'm gonna dissect this thing right here, because it's beautiful the way you laid it out with the living, the health directives, all that stuff, and you can see people's eyes getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They kind of know what you're talking about.
Right.
And that's all we're trying to do is get them in front of you and Brian to give them some more information, and it goes from there. But oh man, this is I'm gonna tell you, you hit the nail on the head right here. This right here is worth dissecting, and everyone just studying it and it becoming that much more comfortable when they talk about the estate planning software. Because this, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with this one for sure.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate all the input and your experience, sharing your experience with us, which is paramount, because I'm sure you're in probate court, not because that you're going through probate, but you're in probate court more than all of us here. Right. So to share that experience is definitely paramount. I appreciate that.
That's great.
All right. Was there something else you wanted to also that you?
No, I'm good, man.
I didn't know if I was cutting you off. Okay.
No, you got.
Someone also asked in the chat, do we put our animals in the trust? You can. If you want someone to, well, let me say this. If you want someone to take care of that particular animal in your stead, and believe it or not, if you want to leave something to that animal, you can do that too.
I leave all my worldly possessions to my
to my hamster.
You know, there was a cartoon like that. I forgot the name of that cartoon, but my kids loved it.
I'll show that cartoon. We have that cartoon. You know that, right?
Okay.
I'll show that in the end. All right. So let's see. Question. Let's see. We have Beverly Brown. You can unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Now, I'm a little behind. I've been reading about trust and studying trust for a little minute. I admire the young man that works in the probate court. That's really good. But so my question is this. It might be silly, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Now, okay, we have the trust, we have it funded, and everything is good, and then that person passes, okay? So what happens next if you are the executor of that trust? I guess it's called the same thing like as it is with the will, executor, the person that is managing the trust. Okay, is that what they're called? Or
that or trustee?
Yes.
A trust. Oh yeah, trustee. That's it. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so the trustee. Okay, just say it's my uncle, and I'm the trustee. So uncle passes on. So what is my next step after we get uncle buried and everything like that? We have to, I mean, like, is there we just have to go to probate court? We just have to, what do we do with this paperwork? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So you're going to, then there'll be executing the wishes of the trust. So whether that's transferring the ownership of things or delivering certain things of wealth, jewelry, items to the whatever it is that your uncle has stated as it relates to transfer of assets, that is what would happen, and everything that goes along with that. Meaning that if there's if there's a changing of the name on things, then that's going to have to be executed with, say, the proper organizations, whether it be a mortgage company if there's still a mortgage on it, or whether it be the property registration, or whatever it is. There's a myriad of things that can happen. I'm trying to pick one, but yeah, that's what's going to happen next.
Okay, so we just know that if there's, because like you see on TV and everything, people that had a will and they had an attorney and then they gather to read the will and all of that stuff. So, but that doesn't happen with the trust, or does that happen with the trust?
Well,
If
it
there
still
was-
can happen with a trust in that regards.
Uh-huh.
But most of the things that are going to happen in that is private. So that reading of that would only happen amongst and under the instruction of that trust. So if the person has it like, hey, these people will meet individually to know what they have, then that would be so, right? It's not going to be like, okay, well, I'm invite the whole family and everybody's going to know this person or that who has what.
Right.
It
Okay.
depends on, the whole deal that's there.
Okay. So if that trust is a digital trust or a book trust, I hear so many things about, oh, you don't want a book trust because, maybe it won't be found, whatever. And you want it to be
It's both and here. So you will have the physical document with all the signatures and the
uh-huh.
notarization, but you can also scan it and put it into your digital vault.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Great question. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Hey, go
Derek,
ahead.
Derek, Claude, real quick. What
Yeah.
I will do, and I'm gonna make a note to myself when I go to work next week. I am going to go to the probate side of the court over in circuit and ask specifically. I know it doesn't have to go to probate, but when you have a trust, is there a proceeding that goes into the circuit court to kind of streamline, getting whatever's in the trust
Transfer it over and execute it. Right.
executed correctly? Correct.
Mhm.
And
And
I could give y'all some feedback on that specifically what I got from
yeah.
our court division.
And one of the things that, I know this because let me just say, which I failed to say at the beginning, we ain't giving any legal advice, tax advice, or any other stuff. We're just talking through experience and sharing the experience here. Is that I have a client on our technology who has earmarked certain dollars and with a law firm that is going to be the executor of her trust. They're receiving money from the trust earmarked that's going to be paid by her life insurance policy. So she has signed the agreement that they're not doing anything, but this law firm has agreed that upon her death, that they would execute her trust. They're being given a certificate of her trust, and they're locked into that. But they don't do anything until she dies, and then when she dies, they have an agreed amount that's going to be paid out of her life insurance policy by her trust. That's there. So to have the law firm do it, because it's like, I'm not going to make any of my family members the executor of this because I don't want the other family members to be mad at her or him, on that side. This there. So sorry, Brian, I just muted you by accident. There you go. So yeah, that could be done as well. And then just before Brian, you say something here. Yeah, somebody else just said the trustee is the one that's going to do all that, and they can get paid from the trust for doing this. We found, at least in Florida, there is no time limit. Sometimes to take properties out of a trust. I have property for 10 years still in a trust, and it has a mortgage. That was someone else just sharing their own experience there. All right. Hey, Professor.
Hey, I just wanted to say, the way you explained that, what she asked, what Beverly was asking, you could literally, point who you want to be your trustee, right? And I'm glad you touched on that, Coach, about having a lawyer. If somebody wanted a lawyer to be involved alongside of their technology, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You can have lawyers still involved. You just have to use the lawyer for everything, right? You use them when you need them. And so if you want to have a lawyer read it out and do it that way, that's totally fine as well. The purpose of a trust is just to put you in the driver's seat and put you in charge of your estate, so you can make those decisions the way you want to make them. So I just love the way you guys answer that. Thanks, Claude, for your insights. And we definitely look forward to hearing back from what you learn at the court, because you're right there in the midst of it. So anything you picked up from a lawyer, a judge, we can take that. As Coach said, we don't give legal advice, but that's coming from a lawyer. So we appreciate that. And Coach, I wanted to share that short video on the portable wheel. Is that all right?
Yeah, let me we got one other handout. Let me just take that and then we can share that if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. Hey, Natasha Moore, you can unmute.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Good
So, hi. So I was gonna just chime in on the executor or the trustee. You guys know I'm in my own probate. We'll call it. We won't call it a nightmare. There's another word.
Situation.
A situation. Okay.
And yes, definitely. I didn't know that I can charge the estate for all the work I was doing. My realtor actually is the one who advised me. She's like, you can charge. And I was like, I can. I was like, yeah. So I actually you have to submit a bill, just like how the attorney submits their bill or whomever submits their bill to show all the time. So you have to keep track of everything. But during one of the court appearances, we had an attorney for some minors, and she said, I can't blame you because you don't know, you're not experienced. And and it's true, I'm not experienced. This just got I had to do it. But I think having someone like an attorney help or financial firm or somebody help would definitely take that family member out of the hot seat.
Yes.
And and it will transfer, it will be so objective that there's nothing that anybody can contest. The paper, the numbers are the numbers, and there's no way that they can now say, well, Natasha took this money to go on vacation. Well, we see Natasha bought a new car. No, that's my money that I already had. So it definitely, leaving a family member as an executor, I mean, that's cool, but that person has to be really strong.
Yep. Yep. And just to be very clear here, and I appreciate you sharing your experience. I really do. And just to also be clear here, as you mentioned, your time is billable, but don't fail to mention it's billable and it's going to be paid for by that estate.
Right. So ultimately, the distribution, if you were supposed to get 50,000 minus my bill divided by however many people that's supposed to be, getting a distribution.
Yep.
So every single thing that we take out of the estate, you're just depleting. But I think it's more objective from somebody on the outside.
Yes.
For sure. I wouldn't do this to anybody else.
Understood.
Definitely understood.
All right. So, Professor, you said you wanted to show something on the pour over wheel.
Yeah, but I see Paula's hand up. Let's see what she has to say.
Yes. Hang on. All right.
Thank you.
You can unmute, Paula. Paula. Try to unmute for us, Paula.
There you go.
Okay. As a realtor, I'm a licensed realtor in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. And I just wanted to the lady that was just on the call, I know at least those three jurisdictions, and in each county, they have in the probate, if you call the probate office, they have somebody there that will walk you through probate and give you, and a lot of times, I know in DC actually has attorneys that will help guide you through, so it's no cost to you when you go through probate to do all the necessary things. They have a document, expansive documents to tell you what you need to do, how you need to do it, who can be appointed as the administrator, and so that happens in Prince George's County. I know it's in Baltimore. So in most counties they have that. So if you run into somebody who needs that information, they can get it from the probate. They can call the probate office for their jurisdiction.
Excellent. And and thank you for that, Paula. And you're Paula Somerville, the Paula Somerville that I know, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just don't see your face. So I wanted to say that many times before. I just want to make sure it's there. Great to see you and to hear you.
Thank you.
So that's awesome to be able to know that information as well, and understand that depending upon what happens during that probate process is what's going to how do you say uh, that's when the cards can fall, because you don't know what's going to happen after that part. If it's simple enough and it's but if you have people that get involved and they're upset and they contest the decisions and that are made and all that stuff that's there. I have as you guys know, I have experience in the insurance industry. I have a client who has 5 brothers, and their parents both died in an accident. I believe it was a trucking accident. And they have a lot of different properties in DC, Maryland, Virginia, and some in Florida. And the one brother, because they had a will only, and everything's went through probate. Well, one brother doesn't like how mom and dad had things listed in there, and he gets things hung up now. It's going on 6 years in the whole probate process, and this obviously costing them money on just going through all that stuff, which is kind of messed up, but can't control that. You never know what's going to happen. So but I appreciate all that was shared there. These are phenomenal tools and the experience that you're getting from credentialized specialists in their arena. And so this is unscripted but great information, and we'll be able to go back to it as well. I think we're going to have 2 videos. One's on the pour over will. Are you ready to be able to share that?
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to say, it's amazing that you said some of the credentials and the expertise and the different backgrounds that we have represented throughout WTA, all backgrounds. I mean, amazing. And so I can just think of our level of growth in this area and what an impact we're going to be able to make over the next few years, helping people get off probate. Probate is the problem, and we have the solution. And as we continue to grow and understand and learn and share these stories, we're hearing stories from licensed credentialed real estate brokers, insurance brokers. We also are hearing real live stories from people who are going through probate, like
Deputy
Natasha,
sheriffs.
deputy sheriffs. Natasha just shared her own personal story. This is going to do nothing but raise our IQ in this area, and it's going to make us even that much more effective at what we do. So I just wanted to put that on there. Let me share real quick. First, before I do that, I saw Daniel Hancock, and I just saw his name there, and I don't know if he could speak or not. But we was talking today, just real quick. He said he ran across a lady that he just struck a conversation with, I believe, and was able to help her out. I don't know if Daniel, I don't know if you can speak or not. I know you're working, you're driving, you're doing things, but if you're able to unmute, see if you can unmute Daniel.
He just
Oh, yes, I'm
unmuted.
here.
Hey, Daniel, how are you? Man, you were sharing
I'm doing good.
Yeah, you shared earlier today how you helped someone, right? Or getting ready to help someone. What was that quick story again? How you said somebody you ran across it?
Oh, okay. Well, what I was doing was I was going through my phone directory and I was finding people that going on that are already entrepreneurs or business owners. And once the meeting was coming up, I was able to send over that text. I was able to text him the address and he was able to jump on and hear the presentation.
Okay,
So
now
that
is that the lady that you helped with the will? Was that the one with the will?
Oh, the lady that was yeah, well she we was talking about estate planning because the people at her church, the people that attend her
Yeah.
church are they have I guess uh, a special function there where they deal with the final expenses. And she was going to refer me to her so I can get her name, number, and information. So I'm gonna call her back and get that information. But that's where she's been coming in. I don't know if she came twice at least,
Yeah.
but
Is she
yeah.
the one? But that's the same one who says she already has a will, right? And you're gonna try to help her get a trust. Was that her?
Oh, that lady. I had to follow up with her on Monday. That's one of my clients actually. I'm trying to get her
What was her
to
story?
we're gonna
What
talk
was
about
her-
her estate. She said her estate is not all together.
Right.
So I said, well, so where are you with your estate planning? So you did a will, and what else did you do? And then she said, well, it's not all together. I didn't. It's not all the way together yet. So
Not
I'm saying,
all
are
the
you
way
finished?
together.
Yeah. So
You see what he
I
said?
was,
He was talking to her and he said, so tell me about it. And she said, it's not all the way together yet. All I have is a will. She started piecemealing it. And then Daniel
yeah,
said, well, you need a comprehensive estate plan, kind of what
yeah,
Coach was saying.
yeah,
Now, now Daniel's moving. Let me tell you, Daniel recruited somebody. Daniel had a guest on the call last night, the guys I'm getting in tonight, and he joined the same night. So Daniel and I, we had conversations about multiple topics today, but that was the
yeah,
one I wanted to hear about, Daniel, that one right there. So I
yeah,
appreciate it, man. That was great how you talked to her and found out she had a plan, but it was just a will when you boiled it down.
yeah, yeah. So that's usually I break that down on all my clients right now. I
Yeah,
think that one, it builds rapport to bring it up. I mean, that's really, it's a good conversation when it comes to estate planning. I would say it in a group. I would say estate planning, living trust, revocable living trust. Have you already have you been through your planning already? So I bring it up in a group, and then she can go over what she's done about it already.
got it.
Yeah,
And see, Daniel
yeah.
and
So I group it together.
thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. All right, I'm going to share my screen real quick, Coach. And I'm going to play this short video. All right, let me find it. All right, Coach, we're talking about the pour over will. So let's hear a little short video on it, shall we? It's not even a few minutes long. Here we go.
Pour over will. Your pour over will serves as a safety net to your living trust. It's designed to work together with your trust to ensure any assets that have not been funded into your trust are moved into the trust when you pass away. Ideally, you won't need your pour over will. You'll know it's there in worst case scenario, but it won't have to go into effect if all of your property has been transferred into your living trust. It's highly recommended that you sit down with your trust documents at least once a year. Make sure any property or other assets you may have acquired over the last 12 months are funded into your trust.
A lot of stuff that Coach talked on. Talked about funding and things of that nature.
Your pour over will.
It's playing again.
Your pour over will serves as a safety net to your living trust.
That deal loops. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, good information. A lot of what Coach talked about. Here's another good question. What if I already have a trust? Y'all gonna run into that sometime, right? So let's.
That was my next question. Yeah.
Hey, is it all right if I hit this one now or wait?
Yeah, go right ahead. That's fine.
Thank you, Coach. You're such a nice guy. Here we go.
So one of the questions we're asked frequently is that suppose someone has already got a living trust and it was done years ago or whatever the case may be, sometimes even decades ago, and it's not current. They know it's not current, and maybe it was never funded. So what do you do about that? Well, what you do about it is you do a restatement. And what that means is you take the name of the original trust and the date of the original trust, and you put it on a new trust on our platform. Our platform is a lifetime platform. It's comprehensive. It's in all 50 states. So now, regardless of whatever happens in the rest of your life, you're able to make those changes and make those restatements without having to pay legal fees once you get on our platform. So you take the original date from the trust that was done, whether it's a decade ago or 2 decades ago, it doesn't matter, and the name of the trust, which is very important, and you put that on to a new trust on our platform, which would be the same name and the same date of the original one, and then language will be added to that trust saying that this is a restatement of the previous trust that you purchased a decade or 2 decades ago. So now the new trust takes the place of the original trust, and any assets that you had titled into the original trust are automatically in the new trust. Why? Because it has the same name. Now, when is another time when you would have a restatement or a need for a restatement? That's a good question. And that would be that when you get your estate plan done and you go forward in your life and you know you've taken care of something that was very important to you, and that gives you a certain peace of mind, a priceless peace of mind, as a matter of fact, and you see something that you want to change about your estate. Maybe it's a beneficiary, or maybe it's a bequest, or maybe it's you've got assets that have been added and you want to make sure that certain people get those assets at a certain time. Whatever the case may be, anything that has changed from the time that you originally set up your trust, whether again it's beneficiaries, bequest, any of the things you've moved, whatever has been a significant change, then that's called a restatement. So again, we add that language to your document saying that this trust that was done 6 years ago is the same family name as the trust that we're now doing today, making the changes that we need to make to it. And this is a restatement of the previous trust. That's something on our platform that you're able to do and you're able to keep current for the rest of your life without paying legal fees. That's a huge benefit that you don't get anywhere else. And one of our professionals can explain exactly how that works to you so that you make sure that you keep your documents current, up to date for the rest of your life without having to pay those legal fees. It's called a restatement.
All right. Well, with that being said, look, there's a lot of good information. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Coach, but I wanted to just let people know in your back office, under the library, there's a training guide. And Coach uploaded that training guide some time ago, and it's lengthy. Don't get me wrong, but just some of it though is very pertinent. There's other parts of it that you might want to just, as I say, chew the meat and spit out the bone, okay? And so you don't need it. But there's some good stuff in here, kind of like this document here I'm looking at now. I pulled it up and I said, let me go to some of the objections. Like, how can I be sure this estate plan and a company documents are going to work when the time comes? Different questions like, hey, that's a great question. Your trust is the centerpiece of your financial plan. And you can read it for yourself, but it just goes through just great ways to overcome objections. Here's another one. How are you able to do this? And you're not an attorney. Another great question. Different questions like, and these are long, but you sift through them and then you let what resonate with you, and it'll stick and it'll make a difference for you. It's a faith come through hearing and hearing by the word, right? So repetition, the mother and father of all learning. So you want to constantly just read, review, and let this knowledge sink down in your head. Here's a good one. This is a serious decision for me. I need to give this some thought, how to overcome objections like that, as well as like, I'm not comfortable using an online platform for getting my estate planning done. And then they overcome those type of objections, similar to what Coach just said. Even though our process is a cloud-based online, it is a software. No one writes documents anymore, including attorneys. That's exactly what Coach just said. No one's writing documents anymore, including attorneys. They subscribe to a software that generates the documents that you pay for. So why, if they're gonna subscribe to a software and generate the document, then you pay them. Why not just get the software yourself and pay yourself? You got to be smart about your money. Our goal is to create wealth. And part of the great wealth transfer is keeping more money in your pocket. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And so you don't want to constantly be funneling money out. It's like having a boat with holes in the boat. Eventually, those little holes, will sink your boat. And when it comes to financial independence, you got to plug up all those holes. And so we're going to show you how to keep your boat afloat, plug up the holes, keep more money in your pocket, and do what you can do for yourself and lean on attorneys only when you need them. And that put more money into your bottom line. And that's part of what we do here at Wealth Transfer Alliance. We're going to help you create wealth and then learn how to transfer it and create a positive succession for you and your family. So, Coach, I'm going to turn it back over to you. And I appreciate you allowing me to just kind of jump in and share that.
Yeah, no, awesome stuff, man. That's perfect. Everything's there. I think it was our elder statesman that was said, Mr. Charles Carlton, that said before, where he stated that he said to me, man, you got so much stuff in the library, man. Everything is right there. If you take some time and go and look for it. It's all right there for you. Indeed, you'll find that it is. We had someone that put in the chat here that says, hey, if I own 50% of a property, how do I do that in the estate plan? You're able to do that. It earmarks for that. It's adjusted for that. You'll see it in there. I believe it's maybe under the AB trust dynamic for you to do it instead of the standard trust, but it's right in there. You're able to do that for it. So hopefully that answers that question. And let's see, before I show what I want to show here that I'm showing on the screen, because that was earlier, I'm going to unmute Mr. Hancock here. I think he was raising his hand. Go ahead.
Yes, my question is, I think the best way before you, instead of going into the handling objections, the best thing to do is probably just edify the professor and an expert can go over more details with you. They've been doing this for a while. They really know what they're doing. There were some really good people, and edifying who's next is all you really need to do, so you won't get hung up on objections and too many questions.
That's wonderful. Pique and pass like a pro. Pique and pass like a pro.
Yeah.
Hot potato. I think that's how it works. Yeah. And be there when it's passed. I can't stress that enough, because when you're there when it's passed, you will receive training. You're going to hear how it's done. So you're allowing that to happen organically. Someone asked earlier about pets, and we were talking about that. We had a video for it, so I did want to pop that up. 1 second. I'm not sure if I'm sharing volume. Let me go back. I am not. Sorry about that.
I have no living relatives, and naturally, I want my beloved cats to be always well cared for. And certainly no one can do this better than my faithful servant, Edgar.
Edgar? Adley, do you mean to say you're leaving a vast fortune here, Edgar? Everything you possess? Stocks, bonds, this mansion, your country chateau, our treasures, jewels, and...
Oh, no, Georges, to my cats.
To your cats?
Yes, Georges. I simply wish to have the cats inherit first. Then, at the end of their lifespan, my entire estate will revert to Edgar.
Cats inherit first, and I come after the cats. Me after... No, it's not fair.
So that was just a little scenario there of a cat's inheriting first, and he has to take care of the cats, and after the cats die, then he can get it. This on there, and so just one of them topical things in dealing with situations there. In this instance, obviously, dealing with pets on here. Let's see. I think we got all the questions answered on that side. Now, please, guys, listen. Please do not exchange what was old to something in the era that's new. What do I mean? We used to say, "Oh, it's will. Get a will. Get a will. Get a will." You don't exchange that for get a trust. Get a trust. Get a trust. Get a trust. Don't do that. All right, because now you're going to find yourself in error again, because you want a complete and comprehensive estate plan that's specifically designed for you. That's what you want. It's not a trust. Trust is part of it. All right, but a trust gets into other dynamics of, is it funded, and and all this other different stuff that's there. You want to make sure it's a complete and comprehensive estate plan. Don't go from will to trust. Sometimes we can kind of gravitate that way to be able to do that. I'm trying to keep you from doing that. That's on there. And I think it was best said. I know the professor said, I can't remember who kind of brought it out there. Maybe it was JB or someone else, where it was like, hey, there's legacy and there's living benefits, this on there. And so that's very important. The lady, another lady I was speaking to, high-end financial services. And get this, guys. Let's see. I'm not sure exactly, but man, we are we have some powerful business women that are part of WTA. And I think if we go to that list, I think we have more of that than men that's on there, which is very interesting. And it definitely represents in the calls this there. But I'm excited about that. That is just absolutely phenomenal, on that side. So, but she was stating to me, that a client of her has no children, and what do they do? And I wanted to raise up the importance of the living benefits that are there, and that especially when you have no, you have no other relatives or siblings or parents or anything of that nature that's there, because you have to make sure that your desires and your wishes are what I adhere to, because there's no one to stand up for you. So you really need it. You really need it now. So, yeah. And so, yeah, I was not going to share, but I will share. Most of you guys know I coach, and one of the gentlemen that I coach with just recently passed. And he was, I like to call it a young man, because he was in the 67 years old. But he had a lung transplant, and lungs just failed him, and he ended up having a lung transplant about 4 years ago. Was fine, but then unfortunately he got COVID, and then COVID took those lungs away, and he started reverting back. I've never experienced this before. I shared a lot with the professor that I was going along with this, but I never knew anyone to be on a ventilator, and was totally fine otherwise. I mean, totally good bill of health, but just couldn't breathe on his own. That was the only issue. And so as he's on the ventilator, there were times where it's painful, whatever, but he's sharp. No other prescriptions that he's on or anything, just can't breathe on his own. And him writing out stuff and talking, and I mean, he's really not talking because he has everything kind of, but he's watching his TV shows, interacting with his wife and writing on his pad. Everything is fine with him. He just can't breathe on his own. And so that was, he came to a point where there had to be a decision that was made, which he had his wife there to be able to be in his stead. He was a Marine, and his wife is also military, and they he did, his last choice was to be on a feeding tube for the rest of his life, and to always have assistance with his breathing. And there really wasn't going to be a local place that's going to provide over 80% of his breathing long term. And that was the situation that was there. So they had made a decision that, he was just going to disconnect and be able to, live out his last breath. That was his decision, what he wanted to be able to do. It's a tough decision. When stuff like that is coming, this there, and you hope and you pray for a miracle and all of that this there. But I'm just stating to you that when you're at the prefaces of those type of things is there, and if you have nobody in your stead, you got to have those living benefits in place. You got to have your stuff written out the way that you want it, so it can be executed the way in which you want, need, and desire it, and it can't be challenged by, and Brian, you can speak more to me on this side, challenged by anybody at the medical institution or whatever it is that's there, because it's what you want and desire. So I just want to share that on that side there, and working with that family through that stuff was surreal, and as it were, on that side. But you got to have the living benefit side in place.
Got to, Derek. That was a real touching story. And I appreciate you allowing me into your world with that because I'd never met that gentleman. But I remember when you called me, I remember we prayed for him together. And I remember the pain that you felt for the family and how you felt when you went down there and saw him like that. And it's amazing that, people don't want to have to make those decisions at that moment. It's tough to make those decisions when you're on medication and things of that nature. The family got to make those decisions. I've been a registered nurse since 1992, mainly critical care and ER. And I've lost count of the number of times that I had to make those calls. Out in the Army, I was a chief nurse. When I was at Walter Reed, I made those decisions for young men who was coming back from war, young women who was coming back from war. And I had to make the decision whether to keep them on a vent or take them off. It's tough. And then sometimes the doctors have to make the decisions, or we'll get together as a interdisciplinary team. And the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists, and everybody will sit down and we'll make the decisions. And it's not easy. And the families out there in the waiting room waiting on us to deliberate, right? Come on now. That's why when we make these calls and we have these calls, we're so passionate about what we do. One guy asked me the other day, well, why do you put your bio on the screen when you're doing your presentation? I said, because I want you to know where we've been and where we are and where we're going and why we're passionate about what we do. Because what we're doing is not just about the cash, it's about a calling. And we want to help people get off probate, but make decisions like Coach was saying about the living benefits. Because we don't want any more people, in the hospital, in a situation, because life happens. And we don't want our folks, that we care about in our circles, in our homes, our community, our churches, and wherever we serve at or work, the people we care about near and dear to us to have to go through that. You want to be able to make those decisions now, and you want your family not to have to fight over that. I remember I was at the National Institute of Health, Coach, and I was taking care of a young man, and I have no idea what happened to this young man, but at NIH, they do research. And he was on a ventilator. He couldn't make decisions for himself. His dad was there. His mom was there. His dad was there with his new wife. The mom was there with her new husband. And it was almost like they were competing against each other, about who's going to make the decisions for their son, who they both loved, but they had different agendas. And it was like they were bringing their outside problems into his room. And I remember he said the young man had said he wanted his parents to leave, and he preferred that the nurses, the doctors, and the chaplains make the decision. Because he didn't write it himself. We had to make the decision. But had he wrote it himself, there'd be no bickering whatsoever. So no, Coach, this is just very, very important information that you're sharing tonight. And, we're learning a lot. Y'all getting anything out of this conversation that we're sharing and all the testimonies? Is this helpful? Awesome. All right, Coach.
All right. So, sorry, I had to respond to that.
And that was funny too, by the way, with that cat. I'm sorry, the cat.
Oh, the cats.
Yeah. That was cute. But go ahead. The poor butler. But go ahead.
The cats?
The cats, really?
So someone asked, yes, on the corporate benefits, I'm skipping topics because it's in the chat. Corporate benefits, the whole life is portable, meaning that, the employee will, if they leave the job and they want to take it with them, they can take it with them, but they're going to have to be the ones to pay the premium for it at that point in time. So it will no longer be paid for by the tax whole dynamic in the payroll with the benefits. So hopefully that answers that question as well there. All right, let's see, Mr. Jimmy West, you can unmute there.
Hey, Minister Jimmy, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
There we go.
That's why it's so imperative that we do what we do by educating people. Because a lot of people don't know a lot of this information. I think Claude was talking about earlier about, that, the judges and all that kind of stuff. A lot of them, they just do this stuff to make money. You have to ask yourself, and I had a conversation with someone today about why they don't teach vocational, stuff in schools anymore. Because back in the day we came up, they taught that stuff. You fast forward to the day, kids don't know how to change a tie. I was talking to someone today, says A young lady don't even know how to sew a button on a shirt. You know, that was unheard of when we were coming up.
Right.
That's the generation that we're dealing with. And you have to ask yourself why they don't teach financial literacy, and now they stop teaching this stuff in school. Because if I can keep you ignorant, I can make money off of you. You become slave to me. But see, if you get educated and you use that education, now you can free yourself from, so quote unquote, the plantation of the elite.
Yes.
So that's why, you know, I like what we're doing, because it's mission. It's mission before commission. Because if you lose the mission and commission become your main focus, then you're gonna do shortcuts, you're gonna start lying to people, you're gonna start doing all kind of stuff. And you're not only gonna discredit you, but you're gonna discredit the company. And I pray that no one put themselves in that situation or the company.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And you're right about that knowledge and the takeoff of power that's in place in there. As you guys know, I have 3 daughters. My oldest is 27, and I have a set of twins that are 25. You know, there's things I had to teach them, obviously, you know, that they didn't teach in school, or they didn't learn. I don't even know where I learned it, but I knew it. You know, I had to teach them how to balance a checkbook. I had to teach them how to mail an envelope. You know, what part goes on the address and where the stamps are, where you get stamps from, where envelope, and how to, you know, to fold the paper properly to go into a letter envelope. You know, this is, they stopped teaching them how to write in cursive, in, you know, what my kids call script, you know, on there. You know, when I went to school, man, you had handwriting was a grade. You know, and that, you know, there was a way in which, you know, to be able to do that. And so, but now with everything being typed and, you know, and all that swiped and all that stuff that's there, you know, a lot of people don't know it. So these are key dynamics, you know, in place that people need to be in the know about and have. And so, but what we're doing here with everything that we have in place here for taking people off of probate and bringing wellness back into the workplace, ladies and gentlemen, we have some wonderful things here to be able to help the masses. And so we're here at the bottom of the hour here. Hopefully, you guys have already acknowledged that some of this at least was helpful. I'm gonna make sure that this recording gets posted so you can go back and you know, I'll give you a secret sauce real quick. The professor and I, and we have a habit of listening to things at 2x, so you can speed it up to be able to get it going. And so now when I listen to things at regular speed, man, it seems so slow.
Sounds like Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah.
But you know, I gotta speed that stuff up sometimes.
Speed it up, man. We're like,
I got
crank it up.
I got other stuff to go through, man.
Derek and I be watching videos and man, crank it up. Derek says already on 2. I can't put it on 3. I'm like, come on. It sounds like Mickey Mouse.
But hey, it does make you focus. It makes you focus on what's happening and what's going on and what's being said there. All right, Deputy Claudio, give you a chance to say something finally here. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say, like Jimmy just said, and you guys constantly say, the mission comes first. And you have to hear that several times sometimes. And like I said, and where I'm going with this is this platform, like we're doing this training and it dies off into other things. But coming back to the AI, people are really sleeping on artificial intelligence and how they really are inserting this into society. And it's incredible. Kids are walking around here with $1,000 phone and have the simplest question and refuse to talk to the phone, ask that question, Google, Chat GPT, whatever, the simplest thing, they won't research it. You know, and as Jamie was saying, and the crazy thing is the information is free. That's what's really sad. You know, and those little simple things that was a part of our lives when we were growing up. You know, it's moments like this when you sit here and like Jimmy has said, or you may have said, Derek, young men don't know how to tie a tie now. You know, simple things, changing the oil in the car, changing a tire. You know, it's simple things like that. And right now they're trying to get machines to do everything. And what is really important that these kids need to be informed about, they totally keeping them in the blind about. Social media is just, they want instant gratification. They don't know nothing about working hard. Their attention span is like that. So if you ain't talking about something that they want and they're not there, and it's part of our job to kind of slow that down and make them have them aha moments. And I guess I'm going back to this beautiful thing we have our hands on. It's going to open so many other doors as far as people being informed, not just about this, but so many other things in life.
Yeah.
You know, and I say that to say, because when they start tying into these trainings and things, sometimes we dive off. And you know what? Someone may drop a nugget for someone that they've been looking for. It makes all the difference in the world for that person at that moment in their life. They may have heard it before, and Mr. Cotton may say something, you may say something. It's so, like we said, this thing is so diverse with so much knowledge on here. And we just drop in, we all giving each other nuggets. And what I'm excited about is as we start tying in some of the younger folks, because it's some young, like the guy Malik last night, that young, I know he on fire, man. But just thinking what he is going to gain just from the stuff we're talking outside of, I mean, this is still a part of what we have our hands on, but these little side nuggets that they're going to get for life is, man, I'm like, thank God for you and the professor, brother. That's all. You know what? I thank God for Jarvis and Ed and my whole line of sponsorship, and to be at this point in my life, because I'm like Mr. Cotton, man. You can't rest with this thing. This is it. This is it, bro.
Hey, we're humbled by it, man, and we want to keep on moving and be good stewards of what has been given to us, so that we can all continue to benefit and help as many people as possible, man. Hey, let me just say it one more time. We helped a million people with this estate plan. You know what that means? $1 billion would be paid out in commissions to you guys. Be about that mission of 1 million. Make yourself 1 billion. So with that, my time's up. Thank you for yours.
Hey, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm going to give you guys a quick update. A lot of you are submitting those self-employed benefits on the landing page that we have. Good job. Keep them coming. The processes are being completed every day and being fine-tuned. Let me tell you what happens when you submit that. They will get a call within 24 hours. There's 7 people working on our team. 3 of them are the top income earners in our third-party administrators. Sarah Leb, Michael Leb's wife, is leading that, and she makes sure she personally called them people in the first 24 hours. So when you call me and say, I don't know what's going on with my clients, and are they even being called, the answer is absolutely yes. When we made millions of dollars with the Leb Group, and I was a part of that before we got sold and purchased by Allstate, we would make 7 touches at a minimum. They would get a phone call, they would get a follow-up call that day, email follow-ups for 7 days. So make sure that your prospects, if you're going to follow up with your prospects, make sure that they're listening to their voicemails and checking their emails, or it could be going into their spam folder. But trust and believe, they are getting a phone call. And then what happens from that day, I talk to Sarah at least every other day. So I'll follow up with what's going on with your prospects and your clients that you're putting through there. So they're going to set up a CRM, which I'll have access to. I'll be able to see what's going on in real time, notes included. I'm trying to get you guys your own personal CRM. Hey, Coach, you heard me bargaining for that,
I
right?
know we're working
Oh
on
my
it.
God, I'm bargaining for you guys. I'm trying to get that price point down. But nevertheless, we're not going to let that stop the show. One monkey don't stop the circus. All right. But just keep putting them in, putting them in, putting them in. Right now, we're following up on those leads. And I'm trying to get you guys some leads, right, Coach? We're
Yep.
trying to get some leads as well of people who are looking for these benefits. This is through our third-party administrators. And I talked to them yesterday, and I think they said working those leads, Coach, they're bringing in, what was that number? They got people making how much? About 15,000 a month?
Because they built their residuals so far up to about 15 grand a month.
I said, tell me about those leads. As soon as he said, we got people in my office making 15,000 a month in residual income using these leads, the next question out of my mouth was, tell me about those leads. All right. And how can W.T.A get their hands on those leads? So these are some things that's going on behind the scenes. I just kind of want you guys to know the flow and understand that your people are being reached out to. So when you go back to those folks, just go back to them and say, hey, listen, have you spoke with anybody? Because they surely called you. Did you check your emails? Because it's probably in the spam. Get back. And if you don't recognize the number, because a lot of people don't pick up their phone when they don't recognize a number. So make sure they're listening to their voicemails. So that's the backdrop I wanted to give you on that. And last but certainly not least, I love what Minister Jimmy shared there just a minute ago. Make sure that we owe no man nothing but love. All right. And then the borrower is certainly a slave to the lender. So we want to get people off of that system. And I really appreciate him sharing that. And last but not least, what he said about there are no shortcuts in life. None. All right. So I appreciate all of you.
Yes.
And Coach does as well, but not taking a shortcut. You could have easily skipped the calls. But what do? You make a decision and you're intentional about showing up to these calls. And it's the people like you and I who don't take shortcuts that make it to the top. Everything I've been a part of, and I made it to the top, I tell my kids all the time, nobody gave me nothing. All right. This man here had to put in the work. All right. And when you put in that work and you don't take the shortcuts, as Minister Jimmy said, no shortcuts. Right, Jimmy? You skip the shortcut, you go the long route, and the long route will pay you. Hey, listen, if you sow sparingly, you'll reap sparingly. Okay? But if you sow a lot, you're going to reap abundance. And you that I'm looking at on this call, you guys sow. I see the same names over and over again. And I keep saying to myself, watch what these guys do. Watch them. They're going to be millionaires and billionaires. Trust me. All right, Coach, back to you. I appreciate every one of you. God bless you.
Yeah, I want to just one other thing I'll throw in there, and I appreciate all that you brought through, Ryan, as well. Please do note or take note here that things are changing and moving around, and you'll probably have noticed we're not done yet. But if you go to your back office, you click on reports, you'll start seeing enrollment tree and hierarchy tree and all this other generation reports and rank history and all that stuff, because things are changing and we're pushing them through here. You'll start seeing all that stuff in there. We got the co-sponsor and the co-subscriber. That's the split sale dynamics. All that stuff is coming into play. Let me just be frank, it's not as fast as we want it to be, but it will be
Never
correct.
is.
But it will be correct.
When you're trying to build Rome, Rome was not built in a day.
And so
but we're pushing for it.
We're pushing through.
And we want it right. Every time they bring it to us and it's not right, we take it right back to the drawing board. So we want it done right the first time.
Yeah. And so that's moving. And I just want you guys to know that you can see some of the progress there, pointing that out, because hopefully we'll be ready real soon here to reveal it all. And you'll also see the new site and all that stuff. All that stuff will be automatically updated. It's nothing for you to do. You'll just plug in, and you'll see your replicated site will be there, and you'll have new links added on as well. So all that stuff is onward and upwards and making things happening as it relates to that. And Beverly, no, the business owner does not qualify for the corporate benefits on there. They do not. So
No,
Just
they
that
don't.
question just popped up.
That's all right. But sometimes, listen, as a courtesy, often I've seen where we go ahead and give the business owner the benefit, but the business owner won't get the discount, the tax credit, because the business owner can't double dip. They can't get the tax credit and the benefit. But occasionally when we can, we'll give them the benefit without the tax credit. I hope that makes sense. That makes sense? All right, we're good.
Yep.
Good question.
Good. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Man, we hope to see you at the top, not from the top. Take care, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Leave it unmute, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys at our next call Saturday.
Get your guests out.
You guys have a good night. Good session.
Night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Appreciate y'all. Have a good night. Rest,
Night, all.
rest easy.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Good
Got
night.
it.
Good night. No John Boy tonight, I guess.
Yeah, I was waiting on it. What's Cynthia?
John Boy already went to sleep.
John Boy said he already knocked out. He took Ambien.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, Jess.